Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ope and I love talking about things I love like K-pop, anime, manga, books, all kinds of them, and just anything and everything that brings me joy. Now, this mid-month video would usually be one where I go over what I've read so far in the month and what I plan to read in the rest of the month, but probably in May, it has to be May. I already met and passed my reading goal and I keep passing it every day, so I don't really feel a need to keep reading as much as I was reading. I am still reading as much as I was reading, but I don't feel a need to do that. I'm basically just reading what I want to read and not being as structured with my reading by picking like a TBR or a monthly goal that I want to achieve. So yeah, I'm a little bit more flexible with my reading. It's opened up a little bit more free time for me to focus on other things. So this video is just going to be kind of a chit chat of what I'm reading, what I'm watching, and yeah, I guess I'll just see how it goes. I have a list here so I don't miss anything, but I'm going to start with what I've read and what I'm currently reading. So I've been keeping up with ongoing manga that I started during the year. I have Uruwashi. I just shortened that one. It's Uruwashi no Yori no Tsuki. That's in the clear moonlit dusk. I've always known that as the Japanese name, so it's a little bit hard for me to get used to the English name, but I just shortened the Japanese name as Uruwashi. I have the first 4 volumes and I read the I kept up with the manga online, but it's one that I'm actively collecting, so I'm keeping up with that. I'm keeping up with Unmei no hito no I always screw up the name of this one. Unmei no hito ni deau hanashi. It's a new manga. I think it only has probably like 5 volumes out. I might be wrong about that. I'm going to check and put the correct thing on the screen, but it's a really cute like college romance that yeah, I've been enjoying reading a little bit. Maybe when there's a little bit more to the story, I'm going to review it in one of my bookish videos. And then I'm also keeping up with Museru kurai no ageru. This is a manga by Iwashita Keiko. I read Living no Matsunaga-san last month, so it's by the same mangaka, and I'm really enjoying this one. Actually, this manga was the one that led me to read in Living no Matsunaga-san. I am really enjoying this one though. And the last manga I'm kind of keeping up with like consistently is Love is an Illusion. They still have like the side stories coming out, so I've been keeping up with that as well. And for other things that I'm keeping up with, I have like manhwas, webtoons. I don't know, those are a little bit hard for me to keep up with because I just have so many of them on my list and I don't always open up the webtoon app, so every time I open it, it's just like, oh, this one has been updated, this one has been updated, this one has been updated. I'm just like, oh my god, where do I even start from? Like, it is so hard to keep up with ongoing stories. I think I'm just gonna put a pause on reading ongoing stories for now and just keep following the ongoing ones that I'm already following, and any new thing that I read, I'm going to try as much as possible for them to be completed stuff, because you just lose track of stuff after a while and it's just like, oh my god, this manhwa has gotten that far, like where the hell have I been? But yeah, I digress. But for what I'm currently reading, I am reading Takane Hana by oh, I do not know who it is by, and I forgot to actually bring the volumes here. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I already grabbed all the books that I was meant to grab at the beginning of this video. Scatterbrained, I'm sorry, but I read the first volume of Takane and Hana. I've not finished the second volume. I am still slowly making my way through that. This manga feels more dense than a lot of other manga that I've read because I picked them up and I'm able to get through them in like 45 minutes. But this one actually has a lot of words, and gosh, another month, another age gap romance, because I read Living no Matsunaga-san last month and this is another age gap romance, but I think I actually like this story a little bit better. So it's about a guy named Takane Saibara. He's like this super elite person and his grandfather keeps arranging marriage partners for him. So he has an arranged marriage with this girl called what is Hana's sister's name? I can't remember her name, but the arranged marriage was meant to be with the female protagonist's elder sister because Takane's grandfather saw her one day and thought she was really beautiful, so he just wanted to arrange that marriage meeting between the both of them. But on the day of the meeting, the sister refuses to go because she's dating someone at the moment and her younger sister has to go in her place. The meeting goes like awry immediately because she gets pissed off because Takane is like mouthing off at her. And honestly, like, I support that girl. Like, don't let anybody just insult you because they are rich and elite or whatever. So she went off at him, but he actually really liked her because he's like, oh, you know, this happens a lot with manga like this, where you have like a rich guy and like a middle-class girl. He's like, oh, there's no one has ever spoken to me the way that you do. You see me for who I am, so I like that about you. So he did like that about her, and yeah, they started seeing each other more frequently. And the reason I prefer this one over Living on Matsunaga-san is because I don't really feel an inkling that there is anything romantic between them, which would be a problem because she's in high school. I think she's in high school. And even like in volume 2, she goes to a party with him and people are like, she looks really young, is she in high school? And they're like, oh, no way, like it will be a really big scandal if she's in high school, which means they do acknowledge the fact that if he's dating a girl in high school, that is a big problem. And her sister, I don't really like her character. She's like this false, she's portrayed as kind of the prettier of the two of them, but a little bit after Takane and Hana start seeing each other more frequently, she breaks up with her boyfriend, and all of a sudden she's trying her best to actually replace Hana in all of their meetings. I'm like, girl, no, that's not how it works. You did not want to meet him the first time, and all of a sudden, because you're not dating your boyfriend anymore, now you want to meet him because he's a rich guy and you think you can get his attention. No, life doesn't work that way. Just stick with the first decision you made. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. I'm still like a volume and a half in, so there isn't much to really talk about in this one. Let's see, I read Komatta Toki ni wa Hoshi ni Kike by Abe Miyuki. This is a shonen ai manga, and honestly, I think it had to be like my first shonen ai. I read this probably like 12 years ago now. It's by the same mangaka that wrote Super Lovers. There is an anime for Super Lovers. I think people are probably more familiar with Super Lovers, and I actually did a rewatch of that recently. Like, oh my god, there are so many parts of it that are so wrong that I never really paid attention to when I first came out. But yeah, I reread Komatta. Japanese names are long and they don't really roll off my tongue just yet. I'm not as confident with my Japanese speaking, but yeah, I reread that and I rewatched Super Lovers. It was really fun. Komatta, the shonen ai, is about a boy named Fujishima Takara. Yeah, I think it's Fujishima Takara. So he has lost every member of his family, like his grandparents, his mom, and the only living member of his family that he has is his dad. But I know people kind of have mixed feelings about this, but his dad, I'd describe him as kind of he's not completely deadbeat, but like, I feel like there were other ways why he could have been present for his son, but at the beginning of the story, he's basically like this wildlife photographer who travels a lot, and he only comes back to Japan like once a year. So at the beginning of the story, Takara just lost his grandmother, but he has to move into the dorms in high school because nobody lives at home and he's just going to be there by himself. And what I really like about this story, again, is the community that he built from being in the dorms. Like, he starts living with his roommate, Kiyomine, what's his last name? Hosaka Kiyomine. And they have like this cat and dog vibe, like right off the bat. Even till the very end of the story, they don't really change for each other, but they really grow to love and support each other. Honestly, their relationship was very beautiful to watch. Now, a lot of people would talk about like, oh, the relationship between them was never really resolved. It feels like we're baiting. No, that's just shonen ai for you. Like, the love between the male characters, it's implied, but they don't really build on it because it's shonen ai. It's not meant to be explicit, like a yaoi, for example, where you see them like make out or like have sex and like explicit sexual content. Basically, shonen ai does not dive into all of that. So I can see how people will see it as queer baiting, but that's just how shonen ai is usually written. I really enjoyed that story. If you are a fan of Super Lovers or just shonen ai or yaoi in general, this is a great wholesome, funny story to really get into. There are so many characters in it who are just like lovable and pure, and you're just going to love all of them. Honestly, I don't know how else to describe it, but reading it felt so nostalgic because, like I mentioned, I read this for the first time like 12 years ago, and I was rewatching Super Lovers, and I just thought, I think it was when the lawyer got introduced. Her last name is Kashiwagi, and I'm like, wait, isn't Kashiwagi the initially I thought she was like Reichi's mom. I keep throwing out all of these names. Like, if you're not familiar with the story, you're going to know what I'm talking about. But there's basically a character in Komatta whose last name is Kashiwagi, and they're from like a family of like lawyers and civil workers and stuff like that. So I'm like, there's no way, they have to be related. And like later in Super Lovers, the school that Ren goes to is the same school with the dormitory in Komatta. So there's definitely like a link between both series. So I had to reread it. It took a while to find the name, but I finally did. And I'm like, oh my God, this is my childhood. It felt so good to read it for that reason. It is a very, very long story though. It's like 26 volumes. It's long, but I enjoyed every single moment of rereading that. And what else did I read? I'm meant to be reading Volume 2 of MDZS. I'm really struggling to read it. I think the reason for that was I did the most stupid thing where when I was reading the first volume, I started rewatching the donghua. So I rewatched the donghua, and now when I'm trying to read the second volume, it's almost like the story, the book is like word for word following the donghua, and I'm like, ugh, I just watched this. I don't see a point in rereading it. So I think I'm going to put reading that on hold for now and read it again later because I have all 5 volumes. I really would like to read them. And as someone who has been collecting danmei a lot recently, one thing that stands out to me in Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, the English volumes, is that they did us dirty with these book covers. Like, have you seen the other language covers for MDZS or even other like books published by 7 Seas Entertainment? The art is beautiful in them, and I'm not saying like this is bad art or anything, but compared to other ones, they just look like kids. I mean, look at this. And I'm going to put a picture of like what's it called, Heaven Official's Blessing, for example, or even like Scum Villain's Self-Saving System. The arts on the cover of those, like, they were so much better and a better representation of the story. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but yeah, that's the only gripe I have about this. But I will not complain about having this in English though. So yeah, I'm probably going to read that later. And in its place, I'm probably going to read Remnants of Filth. I've really been holding back on reading this one because it's in the same universe as Arha, and oof, that took a toll out of me. So I'm either going to read this or another danmei that I have on pre-order that's going to come at the end of the month is Xiaopo Lang by Priest. I've never read that story before. In fact, I've never read anything by Priest, so I'm probably going to read this or that. So yeah, that's it for danmei. The very last thing that I read this month was volumes 7 to 9 of Sasaki Miyano. I recently rewatched it because I also rewatched Given, and that really broke my heart, even though the ending was like really wholesome and nice, but there were still sad parts to it. And to kind of like heal from that, I rewatched Sasaki Miyano, and they are so pure and wholesome. Oh my God, they're stinking cute. The first time I watched Sasaki Miyano, I didn't follow up like reading the manga, but this time I'm just like, wait, why would you cut us off there? They started dating, let's see more. So I went to read the manga. I think it starts from like volume 7 where the first season ends. So I went to read that. If you think they are cute in the anime, just read the manga. They get even cuter. Like, I didn't even think that was possible. They are stinking cute and just pure and wholesome and heartwarming. Oh my God, I love that you have kind of like a yaoi story, and I think this is categorized as the shoujo demographic, which will make sense because it I think it appeals more to like the emotional side of things, and there's just such a focus on them being wholesome, and there isn't like a very angsty vibe to it. Like, they don't have family members who struggle through accepting them for who they are. Like, there's a part in the manga where this is a spoiler, by the way, if you haven't read it. There's a part in the manga, I think it's Valentine's Day, and Sasaki and Miyano decide to bake, I don't know if it was chocolate or cake. They decide to bake something together for each other for Valentine's Day, and they're going to do it in Miyano's house. So he tells his mom that he's going to do that with his with someone he loves, and she's like, oh yeah, that's cool and whatever. And he uses that opportunity to kind of tell her like, oh, the person is a guy. And she's like, oh, thanks for telling me. And that was the only reaction. I'm going to put the panel for the manga on the screen because I actually screenshotted that when I was reading it. And I'm like, oh my god, that is so fucking cute. I just love the acceptance, and I don't know how many times I can say wholesome about this manga, but it is just that wholesome. I love Sasaki and Miyano so much. And after like following up with the manga, after watching the anime again, I've decided to actively collect the manga because they're just so cute. So yeah, that's it for what I've read and what I've been reading. And I know everyone's kind of like excited for Hirano and Kaguya, but I don't know, I don't get the mutual feeling from the both of them. It feels very one-sided on Kaguya's part and very platonic on Hirano's part. I just have a feeling that Kagi is going to get his heart broken, like, ugh. And it just makes me like very heartbroken for him. Like, baby Kagi is going to experience his first heartbreak. I don't know, I don't see, there isn't anything in the manga that hints at Hirano reciprocating his feelings at the moment. So I don't really know where the mangaka is planning to take that. But yeah, that's what I've been reading and what I read. Now for the anime portion of this video, what I'm watching and what I'm planning to watch. Okay, I'm going to start with spring anime. I just did a video on a nail video inspired by the one Momo did in My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. So I really enjoyed watching that, and I finished watching it. Aside from that, the only other anime that I finished watching in the spring were Skip to Loafer, or I don't know if it's Skip and Loafer. I watched Skip and Loafer. The reason why Raeliana ended up at the Duke's mansion, and I feel like I finished watching another one. Let me see. Yeah, I think those are the only three. So I finished watching My Love with Yamada-kun at level 999. I actually didn't watch a lot of anime this spring, definitely much more than I've been watching in the past year, but I followed a lot of them religiously when they first came out. So like Yamada-kun and Hell's Paradise, for example, they both came out on Saturday, and every Saturday when it came out, I'd watch My Love Story with Yamada-kun, and very like almost immediately after, the new episode for Hell's Paradise will be uploaded on Crunchyroll as well, so I'd watch that. But later on, when I started taking content creation seriously, I decided to kind of set Saturday aside for my content creation. So by the time I record my videos, do all my content planning, edit stuff, I was just always tired by the end of the day that I wanted to watch something refreshing and wholesome. So I just ended up watching just My Love with Yamada-kun at level 999. I probably watched Hell's Paradise up to like the second episode. But yeah, I'm going to try to get back into that. I know everyone like really likes it, and it has like a lot of good reviews and everything. So I'm going to try to watch that. I was very excited for Demon Slayer because I read the manga when the second season ended last year, and I fell in love with Muichiro's character. Is like my favorite character outside of like Giyu, Uzui, and we can't forget Rengoku. He's like, I was really excited for his introduction in the third season, and I started watching it, and it just wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't giving the same energy as the second season for some reason. I don't know. But now that I think about it, I actually didn't really enjoy the Swordsmith Village arc in the manga as much as the arc before it. And I think the next arc that I really enjoyed after the second season was the very final arc, which is the Infinity Castle arc. So yeah, even like the animation was great and all that, but I don't know, like the story, watching it just wasn't getting me as hype as season 2 did. And I'm saying all this like I dropped it and didn't watch it at all, but I actually watched it onto, I think it was episode 8 or 9, the Mu and Muichiro, where they finish Muichiro's backstory. And for the other episodes, I just watched them on this reaction channel on YouTube, your boy Roshi, the only reaction anime reaction channel that I watch. I love their content so much, but yeah, I just watched their reaction to it, and I don't think I'm going to bother watching the full episodes. Other manga or anime, I keep mixing up the both of them. I know the difference, I promise. Other anime I was watching was Mashle. I think I dropped Mashle at like episode 4. Oshi no Ko, probably the same thing, because that one, I really just don't know where to watch it. I can't even remember where I watched the first couple episodes that I watched. So yeah, it's been a little bit hard to keep up with that. Mashle, I think it's just weird because it comes out like during the week and I'm not really sure when it comes out. But Skip to Loafer was one that I religiously stuck with every single week. That was probably my favorite thing outside of my love story with Yamada. Actually, I'm just going to put the both of them together. My love story with Yamada-kun at level 999 and Skip to Loafer, they were my 2 favorite anime to come out of spring because they're the only ones, some of the only ones that I completed, but I loved the both of them so much. My love with Yamada-kun probably more so because I read the manga and you kind of get to see what happens between Akane and Yamada like way after they start dating each other. And their relationship, again, I'm going to use this word a lot, wholesome and just beautiful. And their interaction with all the other members of the guild in their game and everything is just beautiful to read about. But yeah, Skip to Loafer, I stuck with that religiously every week. I don't know how to explain it. Like watching it just brought back, it was almost like you got an opportunity to look back into your own teenage years, but through the eyes of other characters who are going through the same thing. It was painted in a very beautiful way, but also realistic at the same time. Oh my god, I don't know. It's like one of the best coming of age / slice of life stories I've ever watched in anime. Like it is so beautiful, and the art is not like very like detailed or like super like clean or anything, but I think it worked for the intent and purpose of the story. I loved it. 5 out of 5, like 10 points for Skip to Loafer and my love with Yamada-kun. The only other anime that I completed was the reason Raeliana ended up at the Duke's mansion. And I keep saying Raeliana because when I read the manhwa, I pronounced her name in my head as Raeliana, not Raeliana, which was what they did when the anime came out. I felt betrayed by that, but let's not talk about it. But it was good. I think it was a pretty decent adaptation. My only gripe with it was I felt like the anime adaptation was a little bit more light and happy feeling in comparison to the manhwa. Like if you read the manhwa, it is so much more like darker and what word should I use there? Like there's a lot of shady stuff going on in the background with Beatrice and Beatrice. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like the anime really portrayed that well. It just made it look so happy. I guess because they were trying to culminate like the very last episode of the anime in Noah realizing his feelings for Raeliana. But I don't think, even though it was implied in the manhwa, I don't think they showed you that early how he felt about her. I don't know. I guess anime adaptations don't have to follow manhwa or manga or webtoons, whatever it is, word for word or panel for panel, page for page or whatever. But even if they didn't do that, I think they could have done a much better job of portraying the sinister, that's the word I was looking for, the sinister like portion of the storyline where Raeliana is actually in real danger, and it doesn't really show in the manhwa. I mean in the anime. It just looks so happy and just like the focus is love, which it kind of is, but there is that subplot that is very sinister that kind of envelopes the entire story, and we didn't really get that in the anime. So that was kind of a letdown. But yeah, that's about it for spring anime that I'm trying to catch up on. Summer anime. Yeah, there's a whole lot of them, and I'm going to try to watch a lot more summer anime than I did in the spring. So we have Horimiya, The Missing Pieces. I was actually going to watch this one. I watched the first episode. It was really cute, but I don't think I'm going to keep watching it. I've read the manga. In fact, I read the manga before Horimiya, the first season was announced, and I was really excited about it. The first season was amazing. But even if you read the manga, like after the first season, everything is just kind of scattered. It doesn't really follow like a pattern, like week for week or like season by season. It's just kind of choppy and weird, and they're kind of trying to do the same thing in the anime. I don't know, it doesn't really work. So yeah, I'm not going to be keeping up with it. I don't know if that made sense, but it probably makes sense to you if you've read the manga, or maybe even if you're watching the anime. It's just, there's no timeline. Everything's just kind of scattered. As much as I love the characters, I won't be watching that. The other ones I have here are My Happy Marriage. Oh my god, like every single time I mentioned My Happy Marriage manga in my videos, everyone that has come out that I've mentioned it in, I mentioned the announcement of the anime and it coming out. So I am very excited for that. It's probably one of the anime that I'm most excited for this summer. The first 2 episodes have been great. I'm looking forward to the others that come out. It's been awesome, honestly. I've been keeping up with the manga for that one as well. It's one I'm also actively collecting. We have 3 volumes so far, and the 4th volume is going to come out sometime this year. I'm thinking about possibly getting the light novels because those are very beautiful as well. So yeah, My Happy Marriage, you should definitely check that out. That's a romance story. I've reviewed it on a lot of my bookish updates, so you can watch that if you're interested, although you probably won't know which ones they are. But aside from that, I also have Bleach 1000-Year Blood War Part 2. That one doesn't need any further description. Like, I've been a Bleach follower ever since I watched it when I started watching anime, and I was fucking stoked when they announced the 1000-Year Blood War arc and how it was going to get animated. Bleach has always had that drip, even like back then when the art style in the anime was not that cool, but it still stood out a little bit. And they've just made it better, although it does have like more of a darker vibe that aligns with the story of Bleach. So I'm very excited for that. I will definitely be checking out every single episode. Zum 100, this is one I've never heard about, but I've seen a lot of people talking about it. I don't think I watch zombie stuff that much. Probably like the only gory things that I've watched in anime will be like Attack on Titan, Tokyo Ghoul, Parasites. I actually don't mind them that much, but I don't necessarily seek them out either. But the first episode was a good introduction, very relatable. Like, honestly, I would have had the same reaction. It was really sad to see. I should probably give like a summary of the story before I start talking about it. But Zum 100, like from what I could see in the first episode, is about this guy. He starts working, and basically like every single person in the world, you start working and it's like this dream opportunity. You're really excited about it. But unlike him, unlike everyone else, where you probably take like 6 months to 3 years to realize that, oh my god, I guess this isn't what I hyped it up to be, and I'm actually really miserable working this job. The very day that he started working there, he had to do like 48 hours overtime. Like, who the hell does that for someone who just started working? What the hell kind of job is that? And he was just overworked. We see like a comparison from when he started working there and how he was super excited, all the excuses he made to kind of stay there, even though it was like the most terrible working condition you have ever seen, like ever. It has to be. But we get that comparison to him working there for 3 years. He's hardly getting any sleep. He's just miserable. You can see it in his eyes. And there's a part in, again, spoilers if you haven't watched the first episode, but there's a part in the first episode where he's standing by the train tracks, and there's this barrier between the people who have to board the train and where the train is. And he says something like, oh, this barrier is in my way. If only it wasn't there, I can finally be free. He's basically suicidal. Although like it's more like idealization of suicide. He's not actually putting any action towards it. There's another part in the first episode where he talks about like, I wish a meteor would just like drop and take me out and stuff like that. I've been there. I can relate, like where I just talk about like, oh, I wish someone would just kind of knock me out and I can just fade into non-existence. That is very like I hate to say this on camera, like it's very morbid, but I've had that time in my life where I was like so depressed, and dying just felt like the only way out and like the only option to be free. But the part of it that felt relatable was when he noticed that people were becoming zombies. It was like, mushkashte, like, oh my god, like, are you telling me that I am finally free and I don't have to go to work again? Like, that is actually what it took for him to feel like he could be free from work. That's absolutely crazy, but it was a really good first episode. I'm excited for it, see where the story goes. But I'm watching that. Other stories I'll be tuning into: Jujustu Kaisen season 2. I read the manga up to like volume 15. And the only reason I read up to volume 15 is because I have the physical volumes. I don't know, I don't really feel like looking for it online to read it, so I probably have to buy more volumes of that, or maybe just read it online, because I'm actually really curious to see where the story continues from where I left off in volume 15. So yeah, I'll be watching that. The first 2 episodes have been great, and everybody's simping over Toji, but oh my god, that slipper wearing deadbeat dad, and he's a rude motherfucker too. Like, what do you see in him? I like Nanami more than everyone else. Like, he's actually my favorite character. Geto can get it too. Like, honestly, I love his character design so much. There's something about like long-haired characters and like traditional clothes that absolutely works for me. I can't explain it. It just works. So Nanami and Geto, they're like my favorites. Gojo is okay, but yeah, I prefer those two to him, honestly. It's just a preference. Rurouni Kenshin, the remake, I'm going to try to watch that. It's not a priority though, because I've watched the original thing. The other 2 I have here are Link Click and Bungo Stray Dogs. So Link Click, I am still on like the 3rd episode of the 1st season. I'm going to try to catch up with this so I can watch the 2nd season. And Bungo Stray Dogs, Bungo Stray Dogs is in season 5. I had no idea. I started watching Bungo Stray Dogs when the 1st season first came out, and I watched up to like season 2, and I just never watched it again. Imagine my shock when I found out like there was a new season coming out, and it was the 5th season. I'm like, oh my god, where has the time gone? We're in season 5 already? The last season of this shit I watched was season 2, so yeah. Again, very lovable characters in that. Like, I absolutely love Dazai so much, and Chuya. Basically the 2 people that everyone loves in Bungo Stray Dogs. But I'm planning to rewatch it from season 1, help me God, and hopefully catch up to the story before season 5 ends so I can start watching season 5. But that's basically everything I've been reading, what I've read, what I watched, what I'm planning to watch. So help me God. I hope I can make it through all of them, because I'm actually really excited to watch all of them. It's not as bad of a schedule as trying to keep up with absolutely every single anime release. Like, that's not realistic. I know I'm not going to do that. Like, I have so many other things I'm doing with my life. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I know this was kind of a scattered video, but I'm just basically like chit-chatting about like anime, manga, and danmei in my life. I'll probably have like a better video probably at the end of the summer to go over what I've been able to watch and read. But yeah, I'm not going to say that's pretty much it again. I have better vocabulary than that, but whatever day you find yourself watching this, make it a great one, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.